and see what is going to be taken away. The 20th Jace ban, what do you reckon? Yeah, there's Kingen and Zeus in the game. I think they should probably ban Jace.
I think they will. Also, the junglers like to use Jace right now. There it is.
Yeah.
The Rumble is gone from Kingen. The Malphite already off the table. Yunara not going to be first picked here by Nongshim Red Force this time.
Oh, Orianna and Azir. That's going to be the trade unless one of them is banned away here. I think perhaps an Azir ban, just because I know both Scout and Zeka would love to play that champion. Scout probably more of the Orianna player in comparison to Zeka.
I wonder if they ban Orianna and try to give Zeka a Silas counter pick or an Akali counter pick. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, that would be fun.
I would love to see something like that. As Silas has had a lot of success so far. The Varus will be taken away from Taeun as one of his favorites, as we know. And
I think,
do you take the Azir? Do you take the Orianna? I like the Azir right now, personally.
Yeah, I think just take the Azir because I don't think Zeka is nearly as comfortable on the Orianna as Scout is. And so taking away the Azir, giving that over to Scout, very happy on that champion, and taking away one of Zeka's biggest picks as well in that. But they're taking their time, and it's going to be Pantheon actually. That's a consideration at the beginning. Kind of crazy that that's the lock-in, but has found a fair bit of success here in the LCK Cup so far.
Perhaps they want to go Pantheon Talia if the Azir is locked in. Talia just has not looked very strong thus far in 2026 as Aphelios.
Interesting.
Okay, finally gets his hands on it. It's been banned against him so many times. And they'll take the Azir, unsurprisingly. But that Aphelios pick, it's pretty early on, but it's really difficult to take away some of the best tools like the Lulu from him in this first phase. Obviously, you'll lose jungle power if you grab that Lulu now, but it's a really strong scaling draft here for Hanwha Life already. And instead of the Talia, they're still looking for the stronger Orianna pick here. The Pantheon is a flex, but I mean, they could just slam Orianna Nocturne and show their hand here, but I think they will likely just grab the Orianna and something in the bottom lane instead. Could also grab a strong top lane pick, but there's nothing really that stands out as a blindable pick that's this high prio right now.
And then you don't want to be immediately counterpicked straight afterwards as well. So I think holding on to top makes a bit of sense here. But also, like, you don't really want to lock support. Probably just getting a priority 80 carry up against the Aphelios would be the option here.
You don't want something that needs a strong pair, like Lucian, for example, because then those pairs will get banned away in the second phase. So this is a really tricky angle, actually, right now for Taeun. See what he wants to lock in.
Is it just going to be... Okay, the Nico is up.
That's one of the only blindable supports I feel in this situation. That makes sense.
Agreed. That's a scary one, is Delight. Thinking about the good old Aphelios Thresh, that'd be fun. But the Lulu makes the most sense here. As you can already see that there's a range support on the other side, so being able to go toe-to-toe in the laning phase is going to be pretty important here. And him and Gumayushi are going to have a lot of fun on these two champs. And now also sets Kanavi up to play something that can really get in amongst it as well. Lulu is so good at supporting skirmish-heavy junglers, and so a Xin Zhao going to be something worth considering on the ban list here
Jarvan
for Nongshim, as well as that Jarvan, exactly right.
I think those are definitely the big ones. The Ambessa was another consideration, but it's already been banned. So, see what he does decide to go for here. I think he'll get his pick of what's left, as Jarvan feels like it's 100% the ban right here for Nongshim Red Force.
Yep. I feel like there are some traps for Kingen. I feel like it's a little bit of a scary scenario because we've been seeing a lot of blind Renekton being answered by Na and Kennen.
Yeah,
and
I don't think
doing that into Zeus sounds like an actual death wish.
Yeah, I don't think you want to blind that here in this draft. You only have the Pantheon for ball carrier. The Nico engage is decent, the Pantheon engage is decent, but the wild growth is so good defensively for the Aphelios, not to mention the engage opportunities they're now banning away. Xin Zhao's gone. I think the Jarvan will slot in here quite nicely. I mean, in terms of other like engaged jungles, we just don't really have those right now. You know, you're not looking for Sejuani Lulu. Sion is going to be the opt-in here for Zeus.
Okay.
So saving the Kanavi pick for last. A little bit surprising.
Very surprising, unless he's going to play Lulu jungle, which I highly doubt. As Taeun, let's see whether he's going to be jumping on something like his Ezreal that we've seen so many times.
That's kind of where I'm feeling like he has to probably go here. Like, the Misfortune is not popular right now, but it would have been one of the strongest bully lanes they could set up with a great setup with this Orianna. Now, this is a different look entirely. Corki, one that we haven't talked about and is very safe, actually, But there's not a lot of engage here until we find out what that Kanavi pick is just yet for Hunter Life Esports. But you take a strong 2v2 in the bottom lane, and it's playable into the Lulu. And then you go, okay, well, no matter what your jungle pick is, it's going to be Valkyriable, probably. We banned the Jarvan, we banned the Xin Zhao, so you don't have those wild growth combos. And the Sion isn't really a big threat for the Corki. So I do like how they've rounded this one out.
Oh, it's Zion. Okay.
Zion debut here in LCK. I've seen this pick a lot in other regions. It was even played in LCP as support earlier today. I didn't see if it won or not, but Orca played it. It's certainly experimental right now, I would say. Gives this composition, though, a lot of frontline and brawling power around this Corki once he hits his 2-item spike.
Yeah.
Aatrox, jungle, the answer.
All right, that's what Kanavi's looking at here. It's Zahin before Zahin is going to be picked up. As of course, we did have the conversation yesterday where we did have Aatrox actually picked up. A lot of people were asking why updated Aatrox wasn't the consideration instead. But this will be Kanavi on this champion. Of course, if you were watching during the Kesper Cup, Aatrox jungle was kind of ridiculous during that tournament. Of course, we are, you know, a patch or two down the line since then and isn't quite considered as powerful, but is still pretty good and gets through the jungle pretty quick.
I think Zahin works really well in matchups like this where you're just constantly trading with a tank, getting your passive online. And in the front line, when you're brawling with the Aatrox and the Sion, and you're even going to have some Orianna shields on top of you, you're going to be able to get your res off in a big team fight pretty consistently. Not to mention his ult is going to work pretty well. A lot of the time with Zion, if you're in a tough matchup early, it can be quite volatile. And if you fall behind, it's really difficult to get back into the game. Aatrox a lot safer in that regard, but if you get through the laning phase and you get to those brawly team fights later on where your Corki's on 2 items, you are just going to be so difficult to stop. So I like this angle here. I think this is one of the better drafts and probably why we haven't seen it up until this point. It's just been kind of looking for a little bit more of a niche draft like this that suits it incredibly well. This comp, though, for Hunter Life Esports scales so incredibly well. That tanky frontline might not matter when that Aphelios is cutting through.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that both of these compositions are looking pretty balanced, but Hunter Life Esports looks so incredibly playable throughout so much of this game, with Gumayusi then as that late game win condition.
미니언들이 생성되었습니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1 of our final day of our first week of LCK Cup. Already, you can see a little bit of Biffo here towards the bottom side of the map, but probably not too much to be coming from this. We'll have to see who is actually going to be able to pick up the lane control here in this one, as of course, with the Calibrum, you do have a fair bit of range on this Aphelios, but you're not necessarily known for having a lot of buttons that do good things in the early stages of the laning phase.
Got the shield from Delight, his barrier after that, but still going to take some poke damage here. The Corki has way more damage throughput at level 1, but doesn't want to necessarily trade with the Lulu on the other side, so it's just a little bit of a poke war here, which is why you see Guma just expend his barrier to make sure he can get the max amount of health possible. Yep. It's on a relatively low cooldown anyways.
And Taeyun does have his up and available, so it might mean that over the next couple of levels there is a bit of an aggressive opportunity here for Nongshim, already pushing relatively aggressively. But it's not like a clear-cut, we win the lane type scenario. As you can see, King taking a bit of a combo here from Zeus, and probably wants a couple of extra buttons up and available here on the Zion before he's really feeling good into the Sion.
Yeah, you know, you have your kind of skewer ability, which he hasn't locked, obviously your W. And that can be used in a lot of other matchups, but against this Sion, you're kind of like, just keep my distance from him for now.
Yeah, let's not bring that guy closer towards us, perhaps.
Yeah, gets the sweet spot on this one as best as he can. I think he hit the sweet spot on that. It's hard to see when you're not playing the champ yourself, but Guma gonna force a barrier here, but I don't really think that was the way he wanted to play that.
Yeah, and it is, you know, it kind of works out here as Taeyun didn't get a massive amount of value from his barrier, and Gumayusi almost has his back up and available.
Yeah, he actually played that pretty passively after getting the barrier, gets away, has the Lulu to keep him up, and then he has Red Gun to heal. Actually ends up working out way better than I initially anticipated there on the setup. Guma has such mastery of this champion. I mentioned I was banned against him last time, like that. It's his first penta in the LCK. He was playing behind Teddy back in 2021 after having his debut in the Worlds qualifier, and He's since won multiple World Championships and has the most recent MVP under his belt, but it's been a while since he's been able to play Aphelios, and I'm sure he's probably enjoying the laning phase here.
Yeah, feeling pretty good about it so far. Currently behind a little bit as far as farm, but nothing too much to be worried about here. As Kingin taking another combo here from Zeus, who seems to be having an all right time on this Scion. Sponge making his way down towards this bottom side of the map, though, where Delight and Gumayusi could be in a little bit of trouble. We'll see. Playing it very safely for now. It should mean that everything will be okay. Gumayusi also with a fair bit of added safety, the Gravitum up and available. And so we'll be able to stop some members in their tracks. It's all right, almost hitting the snare is Lehens. Gumayusi able to use that flash, get him to safety, but flash down on the 80 carry feels pretty good with a return gank. Yeah,
this is putting Guma in a very vulnerable spot. Not going to see a follow-up there, as Kingin is looking for the extended trade here. Gets the knock-up. Not going to matter too much.
Yep, charging up that passive over and over. And of course, pretty dangerous doing battle with this guy when he does have that one fully charged. So short trades here for Zeus feeling like the best things to be looking for.
You know, the difference between Zahin and Aatrox is like, with Aatrox, you want to hit the sweet spot, right? And like, you basically initially hit it kind of far away, and then you have the awkward second one, and the third one you slam it right in his face, whereas the sweet spot for Zahin is kind of like, I'm close to you, but not really that close. Like, I'm going to kind of be like a little bit away from an auto attack range on this sweet spot. You're kind of Beyblading a little bit.
It is somewhat awkward. But Kingin, we'll just have to see, is of course hitting a sweet spot on a Scion somewhat easier than others.
That's true.
He is a relatively large champion. So there you go. Maybe that's why Kingin has gone for this into the Scion this time around. As of course, probably would have wanted to pick the Ambessa or the Gwen. Those were banned away. As a fair bit of damage there. As gets a nice little knock up, but not going to quite be able to kill the Scion on that one.
That's where you can get those trading patterns in this matchup when he charges a full Q and you have all your abilities up. So you want that wave, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to expend your health bar for it. He will expend a teleport as well as he heads back to lane. Kingin will match.
Yep. Does have his Page now put together and will arrive, but that is a Bramble Vest, so Zeus is getting more and more frustrating to deal with here in this lane as these items come together, especially with that passive stacking up that health over and over again. So Kingin, work cut out for him just a little bit here.
It gets easier.
Yeah. Should be able to cut through some tanks once he does have...
That looks weird.
Yeah, that is very strange. Didn't know you could get through that wall. There you go.
Sponge is very low.
Yeah, he is going to be able to take the first Chemtech Dragon, but Kanavi looking for a little bit of an option here. Does hit the Infernal Chains, but they're broken pretty comfortably.
Sponge is like, yeah, if it was another jungler, I would have felt scared, but that's Aatrox. His engage is kind of, you know, relying on me not walking away.
Yeah. I will choose not to fight, as it turns out.
You can tell Kanavi was like, well, I guess I'd toss it out and see what happens. This is the first Dragon going over to Nongshima to control that bottom lane. And the Corki pick working out here initially. Scout?
Emperor's Divide, yeah, going to throw back Scout here as Kanavi with the World Ender looking for an opportunity. Flash does come through. There's the Flash Infernal Chains. And Scout is just pulled back into the sweet spot of Q3. And down he will go. First blood over to Kanavi. And Zeka also almost able to grab himself a plate at the same time. That is a big swing of gold for HLE.
Yeah, he should be able to get it once he clears this wave. That's massive. And unfortunately, the walk-away strat for a mid laner in this situation, not enough. When he's already expended his flash, does end up getting pulled back by the chains. Didn't use his ult there. I don't think there was really any angle to save him, because if you watch the angle at which this comes through, like if he ults here, it doesn't matter.
You have to flash it immediately, right?
It's the only way to survive here is to flash the Emperor's Divide. If he ults both of them on the chase, I think he still dies, so doesn't matter. Like you said, that's the part he did not opt for. Just didn't react, I suppose.
Yeah. The job had kind of already been done as soon as that Emperor's Divide did hit. So a little bit unfortunate there for Scout, but Zeka feeling very happy about this situation, almost has that Nash's Tooth put together, and Kanavi off to the races here on this Aatrox for the moment. Actually farming extraordinarily well, him and Sponge in this game, really getting around this jungle as quickly as they can. Reset to come through here for the Aatrox, and getting very, very close to item number 1.
And there is ult up for Pantheon, so I don't think Kanavi's going to make any plays down here, but he is going to go to these Kregs first to start his nuclear. And we'll see Scout rotating over as well, trying to make something with this Pantheon ultimate for Sponge. Doesn't look like they're going to get anything except deep vision.
Yep. And they do spot that Kanavi is towards his bottom side, so having eyes on this freshly fed Aatrox is certainly a good idea here for Nongshim. But he's on the red, going to be taking that and then looking for another avenue as the Grubs have just spawned. That is going to be the next port of call for both of our teams to look at as far as these neutral objectives. Zeus making his way down towards said pit already as Zeka finds it once again. It's so much easier with that flash on cooldown, and it's Zeka that grabs the kill this time. Man, this Kanavi Zeka 1-2 punch is getting scary. I
was watching the positioning of Kanavi on the minimap and where Scout was, and I was in my head, I almost just said before this even happened, like, I think Scout's dead, because he just doesn't have flash. He doesn't have anything he can do there. If that dash comes through from Zeka, he's just way too close. And he's just dead again, and that's free Grubs. Like, there's just nothing Sponge can do. Also, now trying to set up something down here in the bottom lane with his Pantheon is going to be so tricky because Delight has flash and ult as well. Like, I just don't think there's a cross map for you in this one, Nongshim.
And Sponge is going to be spotted on this ward as well as he makes his way in. They are going to be able to clear that out, so he does know that he's been spotted, but full information over to HLE for now.
Like, Guma has barrier flash too. Like, this is going to be so tricky to pull off. They might be able to do it.
It's red-white guns. It's a bit scary here as the Pop Blossom does come on through. They do try and focus on Guma YouTube to get the wild growth, and Taeyeon's going to go down in trade. Zeka teleports in to make sure that he's seeing the end of this fight, but a 1-for-1 is not what Nongshim were looking for.
No, certainly not. Guma opts not to flash when the wild growth comes through because he has the wild growth. Sorry, when the Pop Blossom comes through because he has the wild growth. Hits 2, and Taeyeon does not flash, but dies, so it ends up being a 1-for-1. Still, I mean, they were able to make a successful play happen, and they were also able to get Zeka's teleport, so it's not all for nothing down there on the bottom side, but like you said, definitely looking for a little bit more on that one. It was a desperate attempt, but at least it didn't go up all empty. You know, maybe Guma's flashes the Pop Blossom, and that goes even worse, but...
And they kill Guma underneath this turret as well, so he doesn't actually get to take this wave, and so Taeyeon's 20 CS advantage is a lot more permanent. But Taeyeon picking up the turret aggro, not exactly the greatest of maneuvers either. But Nongshim, I think, a 1-for-1 and denying farm for Guma. Probably, you know, it's a neutral play. We'll call it neutral. Let's give it that.
I mean, it's furthering Taeyeon's lead. And that's the only available play they had. If they just, you know, keep pushing that in and say, well, that's it. Like, Sponge is like, why do you pick Pantheon? I can't ult anywhere. There's no angle for me in this game. As Kingan's an early game Zahin, you know, and the Orianna is getting crushed.
Oh, Lahen's also getting crushed, but does have a disengage cone. Shout out to Valdez. Waiting on the space. Maybe we will get our highlight #1 as that particular disengage cone. Just to talk about how frustrating it can be.
I mean, now Pantheon still has ultimate, but is very far away. And there's a lurking Aatrox. Like, Lahen's is on his way back. This could get very awkward as they crash this wave through. They're going to at least get a plate, but they may get more as Taeyeon still has flash, but they could just cut off this Pantheon. Or sorry, this Nico.
Yeah, Lahen's has to flash immediately. Now Taeyeon realizes that he's in an awkward spot. There's the flash in from Sponge, though, as they do get Zeka, but he's able to shift the sands, get himself over the wall, flash from Scout, and Zeka is going to come on through, but Scout has that clockwork wind up, is able to take down the Azir. Still, the fight continues here as Kanavi looking for the angle, gets the wild growth. That's going to be the end of Lahen's and Sponge in so much trouble as well. This Aatrox is completely unstoppable, and he is going to transition that into their first dragon of the game as well. I mean, man, Kanavi is poised to take over this game completely.
Don't forget that Scout had to flash to kill Zeka. Zeka almost got out. If Zeka lives there, it's even worse. I mean, they really are one step forward, you know, 2 or 3 steps back on this one. And, like, the whole time, it's just Kanavi set up for success. He has this Lulu. And this is kind of the way that you can play so many of these new bruiser junglers, like the Ambessa we've already seen in the same position. When you have a Lulu, you just go, well, if I'm going in, and I'm Aatrox, I've got a lot of healing, I'm very difficult to kill, I have a wild growth, I have shields, you know? Zeka ends up getting the dash over the wall here. Scout has to flash over the wall, which is a nice flash here, is able to get that off successfully. But the rest of the team here is just way too deep, and like, watch Kanavi get on top of Lahen's, who doesn't have flash because he used it just before. The ult comes out from Guma, and Kanavi has wild growth on him. No one is ever going to put even a dent in his health bars. He goes up to full, hits that dragon.
Man.
And that'll be the dragon going over to Hanwha Life Esports as well.
And it means now the gold is almost unanimously over HLE's side. Even that lead that Taeyun had is kind of dissipated. Zeus is trying and grab this last plate. They do have the 3 grubs as well, so these turrets are going to be falling very swiftly. And I don't know whether we're going to be seeing too much of the Zahan gameplay in today's game.
I just think we're witnessing a bit of a... I don't want to say it's player-based on the Sponge side, but he just hasn't been set up for any sort of jungle proactivity, whereas Kanavi has these lanes that are crushing, and he's able to find constant value, even without a global ultimate, so Sponge is still just behind the curve this entire time. He just cannot make the impact.
They are on the same screen as Kanavi. That cannot be a good idea as Sponge dives forward onto Gumayusi. He flashes away. Kanavi's just posing the question, can they kill him? That's the question, is now in amongst it. Taeyun going down very, very low. There's a wild growth once again as Delight's support is fantastic, but they do manage to take down the Aatrox. The problem is Zeka turns up, and that's going to be 2 on the floor for Nongshim at the same time.
This is a big, big, big disaster for Nongshim here on these bottom lane skirmishes. And we just have not seen the top laners involved in this game at all. And the Aphelios isn't online per se. In fact, was down an item over the Corki in this exchange, but it doesn't matter because they have the Aatrox that's fed. That's such a strong body in these fights. Zeka can show up late and get the Emperor's Divide. And Nongshim is opting in, but it's just not worth it. And I think they need to be thinking a little bit more about, like, yes, our composition is aggressive, right? It has a lot of Nico engaged, it has the Orianna engaged, but when it's not all set up, like, I'm not entirely sure what they thought was going to happen. After getting Guma's flash, you'd want to get out, but you can't really get out. Lehen just gets the Pop Blossom, so they're like, okay, I guess we turn on Kanavi. They should have probably just said, well, let's get out, you know? The Pop Blossom may allow us to potentially escape as Zeka shows up here, and they just get routed. Sure, kill Kanavi in the end, but absolutely not worth.
Yeah, it was a bit of shutdown money, but you can see he still has a 1.3k gold advantage. And with Scout grabbing the kill, does mean that he now is in the lead just slightly. Does have his Blackfire Torch now completed, building towards the double burn. And will be doing a fair bit of consistent damage in these fights. Does kind of need it up against Zeus on this Scion, who is going to be very, very difficult to move. But as this game goes on, I mean, Gumayusi is going to be putting more and more items together, has his collector now completed as well. And looking for that item number 2 where he can. Might be the 2-item spike in the collector Infinity Edge that he's going for here. Actually kind of like that. Yeah. Trying to get a little bit of extra power in those 2 items instead of going for a lot more of these 3-item builds. All right, Kanavi, I don't know about this one, as he's just dead.
Like I said, he only goes in. He doesn't know about the other directions.
Yeah. Didn't need to. He could have gone sideways or something, or just gone in elsewhere, because that was not it. But that's okay. I like the gusto.
Yeah, I like the gusto a little bit less, but I thought, you know, it looked really like we were going to put Aatrox to the
Sometimes it's the intention that counts, you know, and he intended to make action happen, Wolf.
He was like, look, I hit this guy with Sunder's guy, then I hit the next guy. I mean, there's something here.
Yeah.
There was not, in fact, something there, except 3 people that were trying to kill him, and then they did. But, hey, you know, it did cost them the Herald, so it was not a play that... Like, if you look at the setup here, the rest of the team is not rotating off Herald. Zeka is not in position to Emperor's Divide. So I think there need to be a little bit more coordinated of a discussion about how they were going to fight that. They probably have to drop Herald and look for a flash play from Zeka, or just be a little bit more patient. Instead, he kind of just sent it, and it was received.
Yeah.
They got a thank you note in return.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, at least the mail company did a really good job. You nailed that part. Outside of that, not exactly the optimal scenario. However, HLE is still sitting on about a 2,000 gold lead. Things still looking great for the squad for the minute. As Kanavi, for a bit of an angle towards Sponge here, is standing on a ward right now, though. So Nongshim with full information as to the whereabouts of this Aatrox.
And we still haven't seen top laners in this game. Like,
yeah, they have not participated.
They're both 0-0-0 up. They're just hitting each other. Kanavi's starting up this dragon. Kingen, he's considering. He's like, should I go down there? I don't think so. I'll let Zeus go down. I'm going to stay up top. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to get money.
Well, he might actually be able to grab a decent amount of plate gold here, as the Trinity Force is already completed for the Zahan, so we will be cutting through these turrets very effectively. There's the Rift Herald, gets a decent little charge there, as there's a flash ult from Zeus, as Gumayusi throws out his ulti as well. That is a dead Taeyun, just stepping a little bit too far forward.
Yeah, I remember when I said in the draft that he's like, oh, okay, it's a Scion. There'll probably only be one form of engage I'm worried about.
Oh, the hands finds the double pop blossom on two of the carries here as Gumayusi is the target, but oh my goodness, gets so much of his health bar back.
There's just not enough damage to take him out there once Taeyoon is gone, even though Scout's trying his best. Kanavi.
Okay, he's not going to die to the turret this time around. Azeka now could be in a little bit of trouble here as he does have to shift the sands to make his way out. Delight to slow down Scout with that glitter lance. And HLE
TP?
will be able to back away.
TP from Zeus to the back.
Okay. Well, he's just going to walk up and see whether he can park himself underneath this turret to make something happen. Just says, Scout, please leave. And Scout will leave.
Because Kingen got the whole turret, so I guess he was like, you know what, there's nothing to defend here. Might as well just go in. He's been reading Kanavi's book on how to play League of Legends. But like, I mentioned in the draft, though, Taeyoon picks the Corki because he's like, okay, there's a Scion, there'll probably be a jungle that engages. I'm a little bit worried about that, as Kingen should be worried.
He should, as Kanavi's going to come in, does land the Q onto Taeyoon here, as the rest of Nongshim will show up. Lahan's not going to get pulled back by those Infernal Chains, but slowed down enough to dissuade the engage.
It's just kind of insane to me that a Corki got Scion engaged on and then died, as Guma instantly followed up, right? I think we're going to go back to this now. Zeus is just like, Taeyoon? Nah.
Yeah.
Flash ult. I mean, just as simple as that. As the wild growth to follow, Guma follows up. He's just dead. And that's, I guess as a Corki, you feel like, I have Valk, I'm fine? No, not in this case. This is a nice little attempt here from Lahenz, but there just isn't enough damage. You see the follow from Scout is fantastic, but Kanavi has the turret aggro.
Oh, Lahenz finds the angle once again onto Gumayusi. There's the shockwave, and down he will go. Sponge makes his way in as well. They really threw the kitchen sink at Guma to make sure that he went down, and that is going to be his second death of the game.
Kingen is going to get some extra side lane pressure as we're still fighting.
Yeah,
here.
There's another double knock up here as Kanavi comes forward. He's the real carry this game, and down will go Sponge. Now Kanavi's still looking for a little bit more here as he is still alive on Summoner's Rift, so that means he's going to be going in. If there's a turret, does not care.
Like, I kind of said it almost jokingly at the beginning because of how he played that series against T1, but I mean, this is starting to get, like, turned into a meme, like, right before our eyes. But you know what, when you're Aatrox and you're this fed and you have this much support, why not?
I mean, it works.
Yeah. As, you know, this scenario here, I'm going to watch this one. Guma gets the shield, goes a bit far up. Lahenz is fully wrapped around, gets him on the edge. There's a lot of burst damage here between the Orianna and that Corki. And then Sponge sends it, and this was received as well as he goes forward here, and once again with the last of his mana, Zeus has his ult and a charged Q.
My goodness.
And that's the end of the Pantheon. Like, I'm not entirely sure what we were thinking there, Sponge, but
I mean, Kanavi was standing on a control ward for the majority of the time before he even decided to come in. So Nongshim did have information as to what was going on there, but Zeus being able to start that fight off exactly the way they needed him to.
That Kanavi lead is the whole lead. It's the whole thing.
And we were talking about the fact that, you know, Kanavi has one mode. Well, I'm not doubting it. This mode is working, you know? And I know it's a little bit results-based or, you know, outcome-focused assessment, as Daniel Ox-Harrison would say.
I mean, with this much gold, you could say he's on economy mode, but it doesn't feel that way, you know what I mean? That usually, like, he's not on low-power mode.
Yeah.
That's for sure, as he's 4 levels up on Lahenz, takes a swipe at him. And one day, Kingen will show up for a team fight. You know, it was a bit of a fun time watching Kingen just avoid fights and lost games for Nongshim last year. This game, I'm like, maybe now that you've got the Sundered Sky, you're better release Aatrox. Get involved a little bit, because Taeyoon is still relevant. He's about to hit his transformation.
Yep.
He's still big. You know, he was caught that one time, but otherwise can do a lot. This composition revolves around its insane front line, the Pantheon, the Zahin, and then the Pop Blossom. Taeyoon can do big with this. They have great setup with Scout as well. This game is not lost by any means, but we need to see this team coordinate real 5v5s, because right now Hanwha Life Esports is just calling every shot. And Kanavi is the one who's calling the shots on Hanwha Life.
Okay, Wolf, Kanavi is going in.
He's going.
I don't want to surprise you, but he is just going to look to kill Sponge. Sponge is just dead. Now Taeyoon is in between his turrets, and that is an illegal place to be as the Infernal Chains pulls him back. Pop Blossom not going to be enough to save it. Yes, it is. Never mind. Enough to save him here is maybe not enough to save Lahenz, as Kanavi has tanked about 11 turret shots here, and he still kills him underneath the turret. Barrett, my goodness, this guy is so bloodthirsty today.
Scout did not want a TP ult in. He's like, I'm not going to TP and drop an ult on this. This is just doomed. It feels like this whole game, I'm watching 5 members on Hanwha Life Esports walk towards Nongshim and kill them with their fearless leader running forward first. Their Aatrox on now 2.5 items. And Nongshim are just like kind of split up and not sure what to do. Like, well, Kanavi's just like, all right, I found the enemy jungle that's 2 levels down. There are teammates nearby. I mean, I'm sure like Guma and crew are like, there might be some bad guys in there, and he's like, that's what I'm looking for.
That's my goal.
He's like, that's kind of the point. And the fact that this between 2 turrets, Sion is again able to ult Taeyun, a Corki. And I just like
perfectly timed Wolf.
I'm kind of losing it. Like Nongshim.
Oh,
we gotta play a pro game here. Is Hanwha Life Esports is making this look easy. They get the dragon.
Yeah, Nongshim will be able to take their second of the game here as Shockwave still up and available. Let's see whether Kanavi can get in amongst it. Oh my goodness, they're all stacked up. As Kanavi, can he actually find it? Pop Blossom hits onto 3, but the Emperor's Divide is there as well. It's so hard to kill this Aatrox as Sponge survives for a long time, but finally will be taken out. Kingen getting in amongst it, almost picks off 2 as Gumayusi limping away with about 100 health, but that is a much better fight here for Nongshim.
And Kingen, he wanted so desperately to Zahin. Like he was.
I mean, he did. He assisted Zahin 3 times.
He went in there. He was trying to auto the champions. He was getting polymorphed. Finally, he got his ult down. He was like, "You can kill me. I'm coming back." And they're like, "We'll kill you again." What happens after that? As this fight against Taeyun can't really get access, right? They end up really trying to play through this Zahin as they kite back. Sponge has to flash away. And then Kingen's at half health. He does not really have his passive stacked, right? So this is when the Pop Blossom comes through, but there's not really a huge follow-up. Scout's over the wall, but cannot find can't find full prio target. Zeka goes down, but then Kingen is just running at them while Kanavi keeps the carries away. And ultimately Guma and Delight will get out. It's a messy fight. It's one that Hanwha win, but that Nongshim win, but not in decisive fashion at all.
They do manage to get the Drake though, so taking the dragon and being able to come out ahead just a bit in the fight. Also, I mean, you can see it in the gold, that has actually shrunk by about half. So HLE not exactly controlling the game as much as they were prior. And with the entire outer ring of turrets already taken down, there is 1 extra inner turret taken here by HLE as well. So some standing gold on the map here for Nongshim. They could even it out with a good push.
They certainly can. 1 big team fight win for them, and they're back in fact, they'll be in charge. And Scout is actually pretty huge now. 10 stacks, has his death cap completed.
And he's gone for a damage build as well. It's not this...
Yeah, please. I want to see more of this.
Yeah, I want to see it as well. I kind of like it. Does mean that all of your buttons feel like they do stuff when you can just burn them with any sort of ability. And now that he's got a death cap, I mean, everything hurts.
I mean, so you're playing into
very cool.
Aatrox and Sion, so it's pretty good if you can do more than just 1 R button in a team fight. Every Q matters, every W matters. And I do like this build quite a lot. And now, looking at this setup here, Nongshim do have a little bit of prio around this Baron. And they clear this control ward as quickly as they can. And the Shockwave positioning here makes it difficult to approach for Hanwha Life Esports.
I think Kanavi may be about to go in.
He wants to. I can tell you that much. He's also using restraint.
There are 4 people right there. The rest of his team not exactly nearby.
Kingen's rotating up faster. And, okay, Kanavi, you're walking a tightrope here. Wants to bait them, it feels like.
Yeah. Does get another control ward down here. Doesn't quite find the chains onto Sponge. So the rest of HLE moving on over. Zeus getting himself into position. There's the flash ulti onto 3 as the Q knocks up 2 of them. And there's the shuffle from Zeka. Down will go the Lulu. But it's in trade for 2. One of them being the Eddie carry. And HLE now considering going for a Baron.
I mean, Zeus is making like this Sion looked like Kennen or something.
Yeah, right?
He just keeps flashing and getting exactly what he wants. He's gap closing with his flash button. He's using his ultimate at point blank range.
Oh, Pop Blossom does come on through as now Gumayusi could be in a little bit of trouble, but it's
There's
just
no
by hand. So I don't know how they were supposed to do anything about that. He does go golden as now Kingen at full health, but he has to face off against Zeus, who is incredibly difficult to kill. There's the W, and the ulti comes through here from Kingen to take down the Aatrox. But he's now into his passive. Scout looking for the angle here as Gumayusi is by himself. as now Kingen fighting off Zeus and Zeka here one by one, and he will go down in the process. And Zeka still not able to actually enter the river here, so the Baron will stay alive.
Sponge is back up here. Kanavi's down for 30 seconds, but I just don't think they quite have the damage to do this Baron. Zeka's still alive. Emperor's Divide back up. Zeka did so much damage in that fight as he just kept Kingen at bay despite Guma's death.
There is one thing that I really love about this, though, and these are two legend teams.
Yeah,
This game feels so Rise Group right
No,
now,
it really does.
which is only a good thing.
Like, when you watch this setup here, it feels like in so many ways, like Nongshim don't have a great plan. They see Kanavi, they start running. That's like a good strategy usually, because Kanavi might run too far afterwards. But then Zeus is able to flash the Raptor Pit, set up the Wombo combo. Kingen teleports in, and then this fight gets a little bit messy here, as Kingen is able to stack his passive up. And this Lahen's ultimate would have been great if there was follow-up. But this whole game, Nongshim have been so split on team fights that even though the gold was relatively even, my whole vibe for this game is that like the tempo vibes are not Nongshim's. Like they just do not have a setup in team fights. And I think if they were all coordinated like they were on the last fight where we saw the big shockwave from Scout, this game could look very different. They are able to, because Scout is able to get on top of Guma, take him out, but Kingen is just a ragdoll here. It doesn't have any follow-up damage even with Scout's build.
It was a very awkward position for Gumayushi to find himself in as well, as he was sort of on the wrong side of the big old rock, but wanted to stay in range to do damage. So did find himself at the mercy of Scout after that flash did come on through. HLE looking for Soul Point. They will be able to get it.
There's a control ward here. They know that Nongshim are on this, obviously, and they're very aware that they were rotating over, but they can see the timing. They know exactly, we can get this dragon, push mid. There's no way they can do this. They also have Sun Disc, as you can see here, so Nongshim wanted to give Dragon to get Baron, but they will get nothing in return.
Zeus doesn't have flash, so he's not going to be flashing on top of Nongshim this time around, but he can drive a bus towards them if he feels like it. Kanavi now getting very close to the bad guys. Lahen's, I'm not sure about this position, but he does sidestep Zeus's ultimate. Still gets slowed down though, as the Roar of the Slayer does come on through, and there is the fully charged cube. Lahen's will just be dead.
I didn't see it until just now. When I saw that slow, I was like, does he have Bandle Pipe? He has Bandle Pipes. Zeus built Bandle Pipes.
There we go.
He's gotten a lot of gold this game. He's putting it to good uses. Now Nongshim are looking for a contest.
Well, it could be a 50-50 here as Sponge. He's been pretty good at those in the past. Let's see whether Kanavi can lock this one down. Down to 3,000. Sponge trying to get into the pit here. There's a shockwave! Absolutely insane! This is a triple for Sponge! Does manage to help take down another one as Scout gets pulled back, but it's a quadra kill for the Pantheon! Absolute insanity here for Nongshim, as now they're going to look to push in and break open the base!
Yeah, I mean, 30 seconds on Guma, 40 on Zeka. They have a wave here with a cannon minion. I mean, trying to end here, I think, might be a bridge too far, but they may go for it. They may just also go back and take the Baron. 20 seconds on Aphelios.
I think they might have enough. I think they might be able to do it.
I mean, Scout is so huge this game. This turret is just not going to last long enough, and I think they just barely have enough time here to take this Nexus out. What a silly end. Great combo from Scout.
What a ridiculous game.
That game.
Are we? Okay, I'm back. I'm back. We had to adjust our microphones just for a moment because I think everyone was a bit confused about how abruptly that game just ended. My goodness. Sometimes a Pantheon just dives on top of someone and there's a shockwave, and everything is over from that point on.
So much of the game for Nongshim was being unable to set up these consistent combos with the Orianna. But every time Scout hit big, he hit really big.
Yeah.
The fight they won, it was a narrow fight right on the Dragon Pit. And then there was that fight there where Scout just cleaned up house. The Zahin could have, I feel like, been almost any champion in this game. Didn't really amount to too much outside of that one extended fight. Taeyun, you know, it ended up getting caught a few times. The Zeus Scion was kind of crazy. The team fights were overall better for Hanwha Life Esports. They had a lot of tempo, a lot of control of the map, but sometimes it doesn't matter if you get to that 30-minute team fight and get routed. GG, it's over. Yeah, just got their heads cut off by Scout.
And that was just, like, you saw the gold graph. It was HLE winning for the whole game. Albeit not by that much, but man, what an extraordinary team fight for Nongshim to close that one out. We'll see whether they can do it again, as man, this is looking grim for Team Baron if this is going to be a Nongshim victory. Time for us to take a short break. When we get back to Space, gonna break that down, then we'll have game number 2.
볼게 천천히.
야 빼라 빼라 빼.
좋은데?
아지라
아지로 올게.
아트록스 봐줘 얘들아 아트 봐줘. 자 끝났다 미드. 오 나이스.
나이스. 한번 했구나 영준아.
영준이 해줬구나.
내가 뭔데?
끝나냐 이거?
끝내. 끝날만한데?
아뭐 해보자. 끝날만. 그냥 그냥 탱해줘.
아 무조건 건다.
아니 그냥 탱해줘.
나이스.
사이언 너무 빡세다.
이니시를 좀 잘한다 쟤네가.
사이언 풀공 너무 빡세네. 쏘리.
사이언이 좀 잘하네.
야 빨리 몸대고 끝내야 된다. 15초 남았어.
다행히 대줘.
풀 체크 좀.
왼쪽 살짝만
펄 있어. 앞에 펄 있어.
위에 거부터.
실드 받으면서 깨 그냥. 끝났다.
나이스. 한번 잘해보자.
그래. 화이팅.
나이스.
수근하다.
아유 힘들다.
예차에 고생 좀 했네.
To HLE, and they will be taking away the Malphite one more time. Just to refresh everyone, we had Rumble, Jace, and Varus banned away, and then Ambessa, Malphite, and Yunara taken away on the other side. So see whether these bans do stay the same already. Slight difference with the order. We'll see whether that means anything.
Malphite's gone once again. Jace will follow. You mentioned it. What's what? 21 times I think it's been banned.
Yep, that's 100%.
And be the Vi to be taken away from Sponge here. I'm kind of most interested for Hanwha Life Esports what Kanavi is playing, because that just really seems to dictate the pace of how they play. He's such a different player from Peanut, but the jungle role has always been so pivotal since Peanut's been on this team for how the game is played, the early game, the pace of it, how much ganking, how much farming, you know, timings, rotations, you know, invades. Kanavi has just kind of had one mode, and it's been fun to watch, for better or for worse. And it's mostly been for better.
Yeah, until it wasn't.
We'll see what the final ban is going to be here, and Yunara may just simply be it.
We'll see whether they do take that away. Yunara and Varus were both banned away in the last game. Ambessa is another thing that was taken out as well. So 3 things going to be left up, or sorry, 2 out of the 3 going to be left up as Yone is taken away from Zeka here to start us off. So Ambessa looking like her stocks are rising here, and of course Zeus and Kanavi could both be playing it. Wouldn't mind that as a flexible option.
Guma, in this moment, will have to make a bold call, because I think Taeyeon will be happy to play the Yunara if he shies away from it. They'll take the Rise instead. Cassiopeia, not a hard counter, but certainly something available to Scout in this situation. A Rise is so incredibly powerful in terms of scaling and late game damage, so you want to be able to match that. Not a whole lot of champs that can shut Rise down in this meta, just simply because he's got great wave clear, and with his Ghost and Phase Rush, it's hard to punish him in sides.
Yeah.
As this will be one of the champs that could potentially do it in a team fight.
It's hard to run out of a Cataclysm, that's absolutely true. So it could be an option here as Sponge does lock away the J4.
Also feels like a great denial from Kanavi, who's done so well on this pick. And the Yunara, you know, not a mystery that one was likely to come in tow. Taeyeon laughs about it.
Yeah, they don't have Nico or Lulu to pair alongside it, so it will be something else alongside the Yunara this time, as Kanavi is considering something weird.
He's trolling, I think. There's no way.
Amumu's obviously it.
Now, they could just lock in Lucian Braum and play through that in the bottom lane. The Ambessa doesn't have a Lulu this time. Will be a flex pick here, but I think the expectation is that it's going into the jungle, as the Varus can be taken here for Gumayusi. So instead of going for the Lucian angle, it's going to go for outranging in the lane.
And full comfort as well for Guma at the same
100%.
All right, one last pick here for Nongshim. See whether it is going to be a rounding out of the bottom lane, save their solo lanes for after the next round of bans, or whether it'll be something else. As the Talia consideration for Scout and will be locked in. We've seen this matchup so many times. But Talia has, I don't know, she hasn't really got me going so far this season, not going to lie.
The Realm War is, we're seeing it way more often because usually the Rise clears the wave and is like, well, I can go wherever I want. And Talia's trying to follow that rotation, try to match it. And sometimes it's just so slow that you don't even opt for the Weaver's Wall and you get a consolation plate, something like that. So seeing if Scout can change the narrative here. It has been one of his best picks since he joined this roster, even going as far back as the Kespa Cup.
Yep.
So it's definitely a pick he has 100% mastery of. It's just, we're not 100% sure if it's good in this this current meta. It has not been finding the same success it used to. Rakan is taken away, which I find to be kind of interesting here. Great follow-up for an Ambessa engage. The Alistar has been the pick with Yunara in the bottom lane, even into lanes that push really hard. Just gives you a little bit more robust of a front line and some strong skirmishing later.
Yeah, a lot of supports hitting the dust for now.
There's no threat of a Sylas in this game either. So that pick is going, you're not going to be able to answer it with that.
That's a good point,
side.
actually. Always something to keep in the back of your mind. Is Rel also taken away? A lot of engage options being banned. I think Nautilus could be another thing that they do decide to take away, but instead it's the Renekton removed.
Zayas doesn't want to play Ken in this game.
Yeah, I guess not.
Interesting to see that one gone. So in terms of threats here, I mean, they have the Talia, they have the Jarvan set up, and Nautilus, you mentioned, was not banned away. They banned the Renekton instead. That one ends up being pretty obvious here. And now they can save counterpick for sorting out what this Ambessa is truly going to be doing. I think the assumption still is jungle, but you don't want to make that assumption if you're Nongshim Red Forest. You want to wait and see. And this will actually flip the table on that as Kanavi gets his hands on the Xinjiao. And there's a pick that has been finding a little bit more success over the latter part of week 1 here of LCK Cup 2026. And the final question is, what is Delight playing?
Yeah, could it be like
Renata? Probably
yeah, I was
not,
thinking
but
Renata,
maybe.
like, for some reason. I don't know why.
I mean, it's good into this comp, and it's ranged, but Braum is going to be the opt-in instead. It's going to be a tough lane here for Taeyun and Lehens. And the final pick here will be the answer to that Ambessa top lane for Kingen.
All right, what are we doing? He looks like there's almost a grin on his face. Is it
Just going to win it.
And this is a tough matchup in the Ambessa. So we'll see how he does go, but will be an absolute menace later on into the game. A lot of DPS available here for Nongshim with that one locked away. This could have been one of those comps where a tank is locked in towards the top side of the map, but obviously into an Ambessa it doesn't feel fantastic. And instead, it's a 3-threat comp and will be doing a lot of damage in the later stages. And against decently low range, I know Varus has a lot of range himself, but outside of that, everyone else is up close and personal. The Gwen will thrive.
I think Nongshim need to be incredibly confident with their setups and engages. If you go in, there is no going out. Like, if you start a fight, there is no canceling that fight because there's a Braum on the other side, there's Chains of Corruption, there's an insane front line. Now, when Zeka's Actualizer is online, they are just going to fall to pieces if they try to disengage. So you're going to have to see Nautilus working in tandem with the Jarvan. The Yunara ultimates are going to have to be on point. The follow-up is going to have to be fast for Taeyun because they need to win the fights quickly, as if those fights go longer, it's a big problem. And they also can't really, mess around in the neutral. If they play slow, that Varus poke will just continue to chip away. So they're not going to be able to passively sit around on this one. They're going to have to play through vision, fight for vision, and constantly be ready to go in as a coordinated unit. That was, for the first half of the game in Game 1, not the case, but they were able to do it there in the end.
I'm really intrigued by these drafts and how they're going to work, but Gumayusi on his own skin on the Varus as well. Very, very cool to see. Let's get onto the Rift here for game number 2. All right, Humble fans in full voice here today, trying to get them back into this series as we do have the first ward going down, but immediately answered here by Nongshim on the other side.
Oh, and you kill that ward, there's almost, it's almost more satisfying than getting a champion kill there.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, hook coming on through here. Is Delight already taking a bit of damage?
When you get the ward and a champion kill, or at least 2/3 of the health bar, you feel pretty good about that as well.
Yeah, Taeyun stacking the Q on a ward as well, and then able to transition that into a lot of damage onto Delight. So high value. As Nongshim starting off this lane in a pretty good position.
It's kind of unfair.
Yeah.
See, he's going to continue to stack another one. Lehens is going in.
Yeah, well, Lehens is going to find the passive stun onto Delight after not quite hitting the anchor.
Lehens does this a lot. It's something that Barrel does with Nautilus where you aim like this, and if they try to predict where you're going, then you hit the wall and then you get the root on them anyways. And when you have a health advantage like this, it feels like it's kind of like he's game theoried the play where he's like, well, no matter what, I'll get something out of this.
Yeah.
Looks silly, but actually ends up working a lot for them.
And right now they have full control of the wave. Hook going to connect here onto Gumayusi as well as he has to flash out of the way. And once again, Lehens avoids getting stunned by that Winter's Bite concussive blows. Oh man, Nongshim really taking control here of this lane towards the bottom side.
Really aggressive plays from Lehens working out. The stack Q from the ward was the beginning of the snowball rolling. Taeyun does take a lot of damage here, though, on that follow-up, so needs to be careful, but this is going to be the wave crashing through. Free win here for Nongshim in this early laning phase.
Yeah, might even be able to go get a cheeky cull.
Yeah, that's what I think he's going to do. If he has enough money, he probably does.
Well, we'll have to see exactly where he is going to go there. Has opted for the cleanse, but it's a teleport on the other side, so no barriers to be watched out for here.
There it is.
And you're exactly right. Okay, so we do have the cheeky cull and straight back to lane. So not exactly the most power as far as extra stats, but going to be really banking on that mid game for when that is going to proc.
The closest thing to like a Rod of Ages for a champ like this, right? An AD carry who scales incredibly well is you get that free lane push through, and then you get the free cull, and you're like, all right, well, this is going to be more money later. And, you know, the cull gives you some additional stats, not really a lot to write home about, but it is going to be a feeling of like, okay, I've kind of gotten through some of the toughest part of my game, and I'm going to have a really fast spike later on.
And you don't really pay for it either.
Yeah, you get money out of it.
The lane is nowhere near pushed into their turret. Home guard's going to be helping out there, so Zeka moving in towards 2 people. Not sure about this one here, sir, as he's taken down to 100 health, but Nongshim not going to push the issue. They'll just take the ghost and get themselves out.
Guma gonna back here. Does have teleport, so can just go straight back to the lane. So he is going to manage to continue to have a CS advantage here.
Yep. And his tier is going to start stacking up as well, so not too bad. Also with a cheeky longsword for a few extra stats in comparison to Taeyun, but he's already picked up 10 stacks on his cull, and so getting closer and closer to that payout. As Kanavi here towards the top lane, Kingen could be in trouble as he is pushed very far up. Zeus now dives on in. Zeus going down relatively low, but the flash from Kanavi will get the return flash out of Kingen as well. He's in the mist, but Gwen this time is not immune, and that is first blood over to Kanavi once again.
Yeah, I guess he really thought that perhaps that would be enough there with those extra resistances, despite the lack of immunity, to get that kill back on the Kanavi, but commits his flash to try to buy the space. Gets Kanavi's flash in return. Will go down. And you saw Sponge was heading to maybe pressure the bottom lane there, but didn't really work out timing-wise and went to Krugs and then wasn't able to make a cross-map happen. Sponge has now fully cleared his bottom side and is looking to potentially make an impact on that long wraparound here, but they have a control ward defensively here, and I think Guma and Delight should be fine with this wave pushing. Now, if Scout had level 6, this could be a little bit scary. He's still going to come over.
Yeah. He's going to be the one that walks over a ward, but Sponge is just blocking off the retreat here. And remember, Gumayushi does not have his flash available. There's the flag and drag, and the flick back onto 2. Scout locks down the kill, and man, I mean, asking the question of what Nongshim had for breakfast is pretty obvious. It's probably ramen, but oh my goodness, it must have been good.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of products, and a lot of the staff is eating it here every day.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, it smells really nice. I'm a little bit jealous. Zeka is going to Realm Warp.
All right, let's see whether HLE can make the play work themselves, as they will be able to grab a plate, and Kingen is just dead. No flash, no chance. Zeka able to tank up the turret quite comfortably there. So the answering kill does come on through.
Yeah, and it's the, you know, the Talia that makes the kill happen first this time around. Wasn't stopped on that rotation, but no answer for that Realm Warp, and Zeus did not have to commit his ultimate there on the top side, and they will also get the Dragon in answer on the bottom side, so winning on both sides here. So Hanwha Life Esports taking a significant gold lead off of that turnaround. Really like how that setup happened on the bottom side, but cannot ignore what happens right afterwards. Very significant here for Hanwha Life.
And especially when Kingen's now at 0-2, we know how important it is to get that quest loaded in towards the top side of the map, because otherwise you just find yourself behind in experience for the entirety of the game. And the more Zeus gets ahead, the more he can zone Kingen away, and it can become quite difficult. Taeyun here, though, going to comfortably clear out this minion wave, and he still has a decent advantage up against Gumayushi with a 10 CS lead.
And Kingen still doesn't have his ultimate. I don't think there's a window here for Zeus, really. He's like 1 minion away. But could have been scary. Kanavi was relatively nearby.
Yeah, it's a full level in the lead here for Zeus, as Kingen does hit level 6 now, so that needlework up and available.
Just don't think he can really use it here, and it's going to be Zeus continuing his lead, continuing his advantages. This is the first time we've seen Talia pick up an early kill, though, here in LCK Cup. See what Scout can do with the lead he picked up there, and gave an advantage to Taeyun as well, who will have that call here, 54 minions. So It's a really even game right now.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Level 6 here for Gumayusi, so Chains of Corruption now online. And HLE, this composition does skirmish very well in the early stages, but I think the Nongshim are going to be kind of comfortable at that stage as well. It's only really the Yunara that does want a few extra items. I think that the Varus will do a lot of work with 1 to 2 items, and not so much the Yunara. So Nongshim with a little bit of late game insurance for that reason, but also may not be able to tussle quite as effectively at the beginning of this game. But that color's about to cash in.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Lehens. Activating Hex Flash. You know what? You
Well,
know,
I'm looking at the player cam.
Barrel left, but I feel like his spirit remained.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like,
in the form of Lehens.
those wall dredge lines I was talking about earlier, that's a barrel thing.
There you go.
Lehen's doing. And, all right, his player cam reaction, well, he had a little sigh, but it looked like he didn't really care about it too much.
Nah, you got to activate Hex Flash. That's it. Must be the reason.
Why do you pick Hex Flash if you're not going to use it?
Exactly right. Well, Kanavi looking for a bit of an angle here towards Scout. The ghosts have been popped on both sides, but Sponge moves his way over. That is going to mean that Nongshim are going to be A-OK. Kanavi not quite able to find an angle here, as Delight moving towards the mid lane does have that Glacial Fissure up and available.
Double control word.
well.
Got to work on that communication as Kanavi.
Lehens finds himself behind enemy lines, but also in a very uncomfortable position. It's a great Cataclysm, though, as there's the ulti in from Zeus to spell the end of that Nautilus. Kanavi will go down, but it's already a one fight here for HLE as Kingin trying to do what he can, but it's a double for Zeka. And it's now 2-5 HLE securing a big lead.
This was such an opportunistic play from Lehens. It looked like initially might have worked because Scout's there with the follow-up, and that's the kind of decisive call I was talking about. You can't go in and say, never mind, we're not gonna play this one. You have to actually look for the follow-up fight. They obviously didn't have their AD carry there. Guma wasn't there either, but the shove was there. Scout's with the follow-up damage, but Lehens just takes so much on the opening salvo. As look at this, he goes in, Hex flashes, drops the ultimate onto a Xinjiao, so that's kind of part of the issue here is you can't really kill Kanavi fast enough despite the fact that Scout's so quick with the follow-up. Kingin shows up here as well, but there's just no real range damage. Scout's like, I got no cooldowns. Kingin just gets kited, and Zeka is just going to have way more damage throughput than Natalia at this type of moment, so... Oh,
another
ambitious.
fight breaking out. But Nongshim kind of realizing they're not exactly as well positioned in these skirmishes as HLE. One grub did go over to Nongshim, but it looks like the other two will belong to HLE after getting themselves the first Drake as well. So a Cloud already done. It's under a minute until we have this Chemtech Dragon coming up. And HLE, if they can get themselves into a position where they have that double Dragon, that extra Dragon control, it's something that Wadid was talking about on the space, was a bit sloppy from HLE in game number 1, was that Dragon control. Well, this game around, they could be adjusting that one.
And it's just one team fight that was really, could be what puts Nongshim back into this game, especially with this Yunara about to cash in the Cull. That's going to put further lead here for the AD carry of Nongshim Red Force. Taeun just for the moment solo here, but we'll have his friend Lehens joining in just a moment. I'm kind of looking at this game now as how much of a lead can Hanwha have to stabilize the game state so that the Rise can get third item actualizer, as Delight does not care about this.
No, just stands beside Gumayusi and is going to be A-OK.
And Navi's coming down.
Not really a dive available, but here's the Cataclysm as Zeus gonna look to go 1v2, finds a public execution as he does put Kingin into the sky, but he's now looking to try and dash his way out, not exactly finding it here, as there's the Flagon Dragon, down will go the Ambessa. A well-needed kill here for Kingin towards that top side of the map. Now actually has a gold lead.
Can they deny Dragon? I just don't think so, though, and this does help Kingin a little bit, obviously getting a second kill of the game here, grabbing some plate gold. This is going to be huge for the Gwen, but it's Ocean Soul here for Hanwha Esports, but they bought themselves a ton of time for the scaling Rise. And so it feels like an even exchange across the board.
Yeah, I would say so.
In terms of gold, obviously better for Nongshim, as Zeus here, just not really much he can do. The Flash Cataclysm looks for the turnaround. There's no angle, unfortunately.
And keeping Kingin relevant, I think, is incredibly important in this game. The Gwen isn't able to actually threaten kills then she really is kind of a dead weight. And so feeling better about that one. I think understanding where they need to be putting their attention is, speaking of attention, HLE throws theirs towards the bottom side of the map as now Lehen's in a lot of trouble and will just be popped like a balloon. Down goes the Big Daddy. It's a second death here for Lehen's.
Even though he has
Aftershock,
he's just not that tanky. And that's just going to be a little bit more bottom side control here for Hanwha Life Esports. Like I said, it's not the end of the world, but just some additional gold holding onto this lead. Zeka stacking his tier, stacking his Rod of Ages. And yes, Yunara is a late game threat, but that Rise is a real scary one, as we've seen so many times, and he has 3 kills in this game.
Yeah, it's a very, very scary blue guy.
And so I'm kind of wondering if HLE is going to be playing a little blue man group later on.
I think they certainly have the tools to do it. Zeka now eating some honey fruit. He deserves it. As Gumiushi down here towards the bottom side will tank up turret shot. There's another Hex Flash being used here. See, Lehen's was activating it, man. He just really wants to be able to press that button.
He's pressed it like 6 times at least. And go back and look at this once again. He's on Vision. And he goes on to the Braum. And unfortunately, I mean, he's on the wrong side of this one. The Braum warp comes through like...
Yeah, and teleport in from Gumiushi as well, so it did kind of look to them, I guess, like they'd found the Braum, but it's Braum. It's so hard to kill him.
TP plus Realm Warp, I mean, that's a lot of commitment to resources that, like, I guess Lehen's wasn't accounting for. But either way, kind of a bit of an overstep there.
All right, 2v2 here towards the top side of the map as Sponge keeping his presence unknown for as long as he can. King in, down to 50%, but there's Kanavi making his way forward. Great knockup as Kanavi is so close to dead. He'll be taken down first, and Zeus, not long for the world either. Zeka is going to show up, and meanwhile here towards the bottom side, it's Gumiushi being knocked up into the sky. Taeun trying to take him down and will be able to get him here as Delight able to assist the kill there towards Lehen's, who does fall for the 3rd time, but he'll be saying worth in all chat, especially with that extra plate going over.
Plate going over to Scout, they end up getting the AD carry in the bottom trade, so it's definitely a trade up. And then here, Sponge plays this super well. Kingen kind of baiting right. Like you said, he waits. Sponge waits for the last possible second to actually see how much value can get. Has a Cataclysm here, and there's no way to get out of the needlework as Kingen is just able to cut through them. And then Lehen's is just like, I'm going to tank this. Bit of an awkward spot here for Guma to back. It actually means that Lehen's can get the ult off before he starts tanking and then just hold the turret aggro long enough. Taeun pops his ultimate there, gets charged up, and it's a trade up. They get plate gold there, and because of the rotation of Zeka up to the top side to try to look for that play there after the kills go down for Kingen, he's not there in the mid lane, so Taeun picks up a plate. So 3 plates in his pockets, starting to get to become a larger threat himself. And Nongshim take a gold lead, a significant one here for the first time.
Man, I am very frightened about a theoretical level 20 Gwen. That just, I mean, running with scissors was dangerous enough, right? When it was level 18 at the maximum. Sponge does flag and drag his way out of there, not able to quite take down that control ward. Still early days, ladies and gentlemen. If you do want those 3 games, or you're an HLE fan, this is by no means over, especially with the 2 dragons that they've already been able to pick up and this big old Rise.
Yeah, not to mention that we saw a similar lead in the last game for Hanwha, and they ended up losing.
Yeah, maybe early game leads are actually a bane, not a boon, perhaps.
Could be. I'm going to say probably not, but...
Yeah.
Maybe strong late game wipes are actually just the real...
We have evidence from last game that perhaps it's not the greatest thing to do, you know?
The rotation over here to Herald for Hanwha is much stronger. Zeus has TP as well. And Kingen could match, but could also be interrupted.
Looks like
I think this is just there.
Fight for this. Weaver's Wall does come on through, but
it's like Scout's telling his teammates don't contest.
Yeah, this is a very weird situation here as they do take the Rift Herald. So now not a lot more to fight for, but there is the flick back onto Delight. Down to 50% as Kanavi makes his way in, obviously. Flag and drag knocks him towards the sky. His Chains of Corruption, oh, just barely outranged by Lehen's there. And HLE will just be able to walk their way out after collecting their prize.
Kanavi is just so terrifying. He could go in at any time.
He could.
And they end up getting the win on that one. Nongshim are going to try to take this dragon in return.
That's another seismic shove connecting here as the door does a lot of work, but just not enough to keep him alive. Kill goes over to Taeun there at the same time, so that is more money into the hands of the Yunara.
So they get the dragon, they get the kill. will lose some plates here in mid, so Zeka's been a factor of that, but really strong turnaround for Nongshim after what happened there on the top side, and Sponge is going to get out with no problems. So that'll be their first dragon of the game. This game is suddenly really close, you know, when you look at the scaling Yunara, the Rise, the fact that this Gwen is going to be a side lane threat. It's getting stronger and stronger, but at the same time, the way these fights have been looking, and so whoever punches first seems to be getting a pretty significant lead, or the punishes of the overextensions, which would still be a punching first, but we're seeing teams set up and then kind of not be able to commit and then get punished right afterwards. That 1,200 gold lead for Taeyun is the scary part.
Yeah, I'm looking at Kingen as well, with about a 900 gold lead himself on this Gwen after being targeted, down 0-2 in the early game, and he is now one of the big threats on Nongshim. Does have the Riftmaker now completed, as well as some steel caps, so this Scissors Lady is just going to be a frightening concept to deal with here for HLE. HLE still have a lot of skirmishing power. They have Gumushi with a lot of safety standing in the backline, and they can lock down targets in AoE pretty effectively. But Nongshim also have the ability to hold them at bay. Seismic shove, Lahen's there with targeted CC. This is not exactly an easy task for HLE to find their way back into this series / game.
Yeah, I thought for sure Scout was going to force the ghost trade there. He's just on the edge of a potential shove, but does not end up committing there. Knife's Edge game. Kingen is, if he's ever left alone, going to just balloon this lead.
Oh yeah.
And when he has Nashor's Tooth later, going to be incredibly potent. Sometimes we see that built first if it's a Gwen matchup where you just kind of crush it, or if you've been given a lot of resources, you get ahead. In this game, and going Riftmaker first to deal with the Ambessa and to have some jungle assist makes a lot of sense. And then he hits that second item, and he is going to be a real threat in the side lane, more than he is now. Taeyun kind of alone here.
Yeah, there's a flash forward from Delight. Misses the ulti, though, as Taeyun's able to get himself out of there mostly. Zeka flashes on top of him, though, to take down the Yunara, but now he's in an awkward spot. Scout, now the one in trouble, as the blast going to get Zeka to safety as Kingen looks to make his way in. Needlework to start it off, and down goes the Rise as Gumushi now having to deal with Kingen, and the Needlework from downtown collects this Varus. Now Nongshim with a man advantage, but Sponge looking a little worse for wear as Lahen's makes his way forward. Kingen is 1 versus 3, but I think he likes that one as down goes the Braum, and Kanavi follows. Sponge happy to die here because that is an ace for Nongshim.
I would love to see the damage stats after that fight between Scout and Kingen, just hitting everybody that's stacked up on top of each other in this one. Initially, it looks like, okay, Taeyun getting caught is a big problem, but Delight missing this ultimate actually means that Zeka has to get split off on the rest of the team, which makes him a free target. The Weaver's Wall positioning here actually so good because it means they can basically chunk Zeka down. Kingen shows up, gets the flank here, and now Kanavi is too deep chasing Lahen's, can't peel for the rest of his team. Guma is sniped, and then Kanavi's like, I'm ready to fight, but they lost their carries, so they can't really do anything here. Sponge's flash is good, and then watch Scout and Kingen just say goodbye health bars. It is nasty. Everyone's all stuck on 1 pixel, and both Scout and Kingen love what that looks like.
Exactly, man. The snip value kind of insane. As Taeyun, yep, hands off keyboard. He's
like, I got caught. Thank you, guys are welcome.
I
got caught.
soaked the cooldowns, all right? Soaked the cooldowns, and he absolutely did. To be perfectly honest, the fact that Zeka had to go that deep, that was his first death of the game, right? Yeah. He went up to 4-0 and 2 in that moment. Him being dead is so much of the HLE money off the table. And speaking of money, it's now a 4,000 gold lead. This is a larger lead than we've seen at all today, because in game number 1, it never really crested 3,500.
Yeah, it was very much back and forth. And this is a big, significant lead after a decisive team fight win. And a bit of a messy one from Hanwha Life Esports, you know, like on one hand, it's like Taeyun forced Zeka to go that deep, but Zeka could have also just been like, all right, well, that AD carry isn't going to do anything, so let's kind of refocus. Kanavi was also chasing Lahen's. Like, there were a lot of things that could have been played differently in that fight for Hanwha Life. But Nongshim are very happy. They're like, no, if they did it again, they'd 100% do it the same way. We win every time. Taeyun's clapping. Yeah, that was my play. you guys better thank me for that one. And now we're looking at 30 seconds till this Dragon spawns. Will be the second for Nongshim. Weaver's Well set up here for Scout again. And this is going to be a very difficult fight to enter for Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah, Scout, you can see, moving towards Zeus. It does actually clip him there with the seismic shove down to 50%. Kingen moving forward. This turret is very, very dead, but Kingen may be dead as well. Never mind, going to be flashing to get himself out of the way. The needleworks to try and keep him healthy. Zeus should be going down as well. Finally, he's taken out. As now Taeun is the target. Kanavi gets on top of him, but it's not quite enough. As now the Realm Warp comes in, but Taeun is just dancing around the fight. Delight goes down. Lahenz is dead as well. Zeka and Gumayushi still up and available as mid laners and AD carries both left standing.
Yeah, it's a bit of an exactly even trade between these two. Taeun just does so much damage. Kanavi is like, I kill this AD carry, right? And Taeun's like, it's patch 26.1, actually.
I'm sorry, sir.
We do a lot of damage. And he has that Kraken Slayer slamming into the end of the enemy team. And it's going to be a call here from the Nongshim about the next dragon fight.
Yep, letting him know exactly what cooldowns are up and available and all that sort of stuff. And checking flashes and things like this.
And then Zeus flashes away here, and then the turret actually does a lot of extra damage, so it survives a little bit longer, but the core issue here is that Kingen is isolated, and Sponge isn't able to get on top and peel for him. He does ultimately get in and zone the damage away from Taeun, who just has to deal with Kanavi only. And then Lahenz here does die, but look at how much damage Taeun does in this interim, as Guma's just not able to close the gap. Zeka cannot do enough damage, and they're still going to reset here and get the faster take on the dragon, so the end result is the same, despite an even trade of kills there. They take the second dragon, they remain in a near 5,000 gold lead, and now IE is done for Taeun.
Yeah, that's the scary part. That was just a BF sword that he had in his inventory for the last fight, and now it's going to be much more scary.
And Zeka is only half of his actualizer, whereas the third item is complete here for Scout. He has Crypt Bloom, so the carries are just so much bigger here for Nongshim, which makes it really tough for example, Zeus and Kanavi to actually get on top of the backline before they're just blown up. And it's an 80 carry meta for a reason.
Yeah, and it's a 2-level advantage for Kingen as well. He's level 16. Maximum level on his needlework. And we saw the snipes from that previous team fight. They are even more deadly now. And so with a 4,500 gold lead, couple of dragons now picked up. We were commending the double dragon that HLE were able to put together in the early game. But since then, the game's kind of fallen apart. And we'll see whether Nongshim can cleanly close this one out. They probably have it pretty clear in their mind that anything can go wrong and they can just lose the game. 100%. That's precisely what they capitalized on in game one.
100% that could happen, but if they can maintain vision control, I think it becomes a lot more tough for Hanwha to engage on their fed carries at this point. And so vision game, I mean, look at the pings. I was probably from Lands, he's just like, pinged please assist like 7 times there on the top side of the map. He's like, put those wards down if you got them. And maybe they're telling Lahenz to put those down, but either way, they're getting vision around the other side of this Baron pit now, and it's very easy to turn off of it with this Talia that's got Weaver's Wall. They have control over mid. I mean, this vision toggle shows that like they can see almost everything except...
Yeah, Kingen possibly discovered here as Zeus and Zeka are going to try and hold him in position. Let's see whether Kingen can get this one done. Remember, he has an arm guard and Zeka is almost just straight up dead. Public execution comes on through and Kingen does go golden. Now the fight on the other side of the rift with the man advantage for Nongshim. They get the double knockups with that ulti out of Lahenz as Scout will show up. They take down Sponge though, and Kanavi taking so much damage. And he will finally fall down. 2 for 1, the trade in favor of HLE.
And I just don't see any way that Hanwha Life Esports can use this, though, at this moment in time to actually get further value. I mean, they don't have their jungler, they can't take Baron, so it feels like a good trade up for them isn't necessarily enough to lead to a comeback just yet, as it takes 2 to kill Kingen, and he almost trades it back. We didn't see the end of this fight post-Zhonya's, or post-Armguard. So he does drop this down here when he goes super low, gets the flash out of Zeka, and they just slow play it from here. He's got range damage.
Yeah, Snip not quite connecting, and Zeus with a little bit more range to play with as those buttons come back up again.
It's a lot of damage on the Sponge here. Like, he just pops, but Kanavi will die in return. It ends up being an even trade on the top side of the fight, which is a good thing for HLE considering they were outnumbered.
Yeah, exactly, and Gumayushi actually doing a lot of damage in that scenario.
That same turn possibility is there without a Weaver's Wall here for Nongshim on this Baron potential take. As already saw the last game tossed away.
Yeah, and Kanavi does have flash, so he can get into that pit. It's going to need to be a turn here for Nongshim as they look for Zeus. Flick back, not going to quite connect there though. And Nongshim now regrouping one more time.
Drop the Baron aggro, they let it reset. I think is the wise call. I don't think Zeka has his actualizer just yet, but he might in this fight. It would be huge if he did.
Well, Kingen looking for a wraparound. There's the engage from Lahan's Cataclysm. Through from Sponge. They're looking for Gumayusi, but he gets a relative safe. Never mind. Kingen gets on top of him, diving in towards that backline and will be able to eviscerate this Varus. And Kanavi falls as well. Zeka not enough that he can do, and the Weaver's Wall is going to come through to take him out. That is going to be another threaded volley. A big old rock to the back of the noggin, and down will go the Rise. And now Nongshim should be able to take this Baron.
It looks like Nongshim is poised to take this series. There's no actualizer in Zeka's inventory. He cannot alone 1v9 this team fight essentially. As Gumayusi, he's got his shield from his Edge of Night, but it's popped instantly, and Kingen just gets on top of him. And on the bottom side of the fight, Zeka is just really struggling to close the gap here on the back line. Offers a decent amount of damage to Sponge and Lahens, but now all he can do is kind of phase rush his way out of here. He's trying to do what he can. Zoom in, let me out of here. Not going to get out. That is going to be Baron going over in what should be now a 7,000 plus, 8,000 plus gold lead here for Nongshim in the ensuing fight. Guma thought he was safe there, but the engage from Sponge was fantastic.
I thought he was safe. Honestly, I felt like he'd done enough to get himself out, but instead, Kingen dashes, flashes, and he's right on top of the Varus. And not a lot that Gumi can do when the flash is on cooldown. And so now you got a shield bow done for Taeun as in goes Sponge, looking for that blue buff, will not collect it as the anchor just barely not finding the backside of that Xin Zhao.
I mean, the copium for Hanwha fans is like, you've got to rise, you've got a lot of wave clear. Maybe somehow you can just hang on here. It's still a 2 Drake apiece game. That 2 minutes left on the Baron, though, is going to feel so oppressive. They still have this Gwen.
Oh, God. And look at Scout's items, man. He's got a Rabadon's completed.
He got the Rabadons. Still no actualizer for Zeka. This is going to be a free dragon, but I think if you're Hanwha, you're like, yeah, I mean, take it. As long as you're not killing my Nexus right now, that Baron timer is going to get smaller. That's the best we can hope for. As you see Zeka in the top lane farming as fast as he can to put that item together, but he'll still be a full item behind. However, you know, it's a lot more burst-oriented the way Scout plays this one out, and if the front line can stay alive and he can do that damage, maybe he could be in a miracle world. Well, the reason why they get back in, there's the actualizer finally complete way later. He would have liked it. He's so incredibly far behind his opposition here in Scout.
Man, this is such a huge deal for Group Baron as well, as Nongshim, with this upset victory, will be able to get them within touching distance of the Elder Group. And after our next series, could be that T1 will be able to even the scoreline if Nongshim are able to close this one out. So a lot on the table, and that'd be so clean to round out the week.
Yeah.
5-5. Gorgeous. But hasn't actually happened just yet. We'll just have to see whether Nongshim can cleanly close this one out.
Let's see, they got 40 seconds left. Zeus is kind of knocking on the, Kinga is knocking on the front door here.
Yeah, Kanavi goes in, looks for a bit of an angle here. 3 items completed. 4 Kingen does have his Zhonya's now complete. Scout throwing away some rocks here where he can see some angles and to set up some of that worked ground.
Kingen, an ex-Hanwha Life player himself, post-DRX, looking at his former teammates here, I think very few would have predicted Nongshim to win this series. I think even fewer, perhaps none, would have predicted Nongshim to 2-0.
Yeah, I can't remember back to the predictions, but I'm pretty sure it was unanimous.
Oh, I think it definitely was. I don't remember any discussion about this one. Like Nongshim versus BNK, you're like, okay, that could go either way. Nongshim did not win that series, by the way, but to win this one makes a pretty big statement.
And the fact that the money is exactly where it needs to be here for Nongshim as well just makes coming back in this game so difficult for HLE. Like, the lead for Scout, like, it's a full Rabadon's ahead. That's, like, basically the money he does have.
Yeah,
we're talking about Actualizer, yeah. Zeka has that. That's in comparison to 2 items. Yes, Rylai's is cheaper than a lot of others, so it's a little bit disingenuous, but Rabadon's is that's a price.
Taeun has level 16 and Flash and Cleanse, so killing him seems pretty out of the question. Sponge can go in as deep as he wants because he also is on his 3rd item, GA. Kingen has Zhonya's, so like, you kind of just have to hope that you can get a second cast of Actualizer and everyone takes their hands off the keyboard, then maybe you can kill everyone if you're Zeka. You have to hope and pray. They were able to keep all their inhibitors alive, right? I mean, that's all they could have hoped for, and that much remained true. The waves have been pushed in, they've just been hard farming. They're trying to get Guma. Additional item, he has his Sereldas now. The actualizer did finish right, and Zeus is looking for a 4th item eventually here.
I mean, there's an Ocean Soul coming up in 2 minutes' time, though, Wolf, and a quad Ocean Drake, Ocean Soul Gwen. Does Kingen die?
No.
That's, yeah.
He also has Zonius, as previously mentioned. I don't think they can kill him ever. Maybe, like, if Hanwha Life Esports can make some sort of really crazy macro call or spring a trap, which they've tried multiple times so far in this game, just kind of hide on bush and see if Nongshim make a mistake. It just isn't happening. The shot calling is good here, though, for Hanwha Life. You can tell they obviously know that their backs are against the wall and they have to hope for some sort of desperate mistake, desperate punish of a mistake. But Nongshim are just playing too clean. They're playing around that vision we talked about from the draft. If you have an oppressive control with this comp, it becomes so much more difficult for your opponent to play the game, even with Edge of Night for Guma, as we've already seen.
And this is the thing as well, utilizing the Baron in order to get even better Baron vision for next Baron. It's a slow way to play it out, but it certainly is a pretty foolproof way to make sure that your opposition have to walk through darkness in order to stop a second one from going your way.
The fact that Zeus is able to get a little bit of movement here in sides is more than I think Hanwha could even have hoped and prayed for. So that's one small thing, right? You can see, otherwise, like you said, the vision couldn't be deeper. It's practically in their base. And they're just using the timer here for the Baron against Hanwha Life Esports, like saying, all right, well, I'm just going to get as much vision as I can. The second that spawns, I'm going to be on it. You're going to have to walk through all of this. We've got Weaver's Wall. Our AD carry is sitting on 5 items and has Flash and Cleanse. There is no in.
Yeah.
Good luck, Zeus.
This is very tough. As, yeah, like you say, Lord Dom's now completed here for Taeyun as well. It's the old full item build, but does now have another slot considering the quest. Scout, will he be able to get the shove? He does manage to find it there under the light, but he puts up the door. Not exactly the optimal target, but still, even with the door there, still takes half of his health bar. And you can see the darkness that you were talking about, Wolf. Lehens really hates that minion as he gets the knockup on to Zeka. Man, thrown around like a ragdoll, but does go golden in time. Chains of Corruption are there to try and make this one happen, but Kingen gets into the back line, and Scout down so incredibly low, but he just goes gold and keeps himself alive. It's only Zeus left standing, and Nongshim are about to do the unthinkable. A 2-0 over Hanwha Life Esports here to put Baron within 1 game from Elder Group here for the LCK Cup.
The unthinkable, the biggest upset of the tournament here in Week 1. Nongshim dismantling HLE in Game 2, and Game 1 showcasing a completely different resilience. But in this second one, as soon as they got mid-game control, they played a vision game, they played a macro game that was immaculate. It's a huge bounce back for Scout, who had a really tough start in this roster, not only in his first game of the week against B&K, but also in Kespa Cup, but he bounces back in a huge way. Kingen gets that kill with some help of the Shockwave right in Game 1 on the Guma, that plays an incredible Gwen game down 0-2 in this final one. Everyone had a part to play. They saw in that last fight, like, it was a really cool attempt from Kanavi to get around the backside and set up a really cool flank to where he was unkillable with his Crescent Guard. So he's trying to both be a front line for Zeka, but also split the team in half. But they just turn on the Zeka instantly. He has to pop his arm guard, and he just cannot survive. They just delete him. Kingen's biding his time, waits for him to come out of the arm guard, snipes him, and that's the end of the fight.
Yeah, beautifully played. I just really liked how they orchestrated the early stage of the game. They did it in sort of a malleable way as well. They saw the targeting of Kingen. They were like, we can't do anything if this Gwen is useless. And so they force fights, make sure that he is in a good position to find the angle, as we've seen that one from Lehens before. And man, he had a lot of fun this game. But, you know, it's a W at the end. And Lehens never change. You know, despite everything, never change. Honestly, him dying by himself was a large reason why they won Game 1. So, I don't know.
I just kind of feel like the way that Hanwha lost this game too, also, like the way they held on, the way they slow played it, they had no vision, they were still able to even set up one last desperate fight they were never going to win. It was kind of impressive. I feel like Nongshim really earned this. It was not one of those games where Hanwha Life make big mistakes, it was a terrible series for them or anything like that. It's just that Nongshim really did not give them any ins in the second game. In the first game, they knew they had one desperate win con. They pulled it off. It's the kind of game that just completely takes your Week 1 first half and turns it on its head completely. I was looking at this going, well, I don't know if Nongshim's making Legend Group this time around. There's going to have to be some big improvements. And then just a few days later, I'm like, oh, look at that.
They made some pretty big improvements.
Yeah.
I just have to say, Kingen is just playing so well in 2026. I think the Zahen was incredible, especially in that final fight in Game 1, but this Gwen was pretty difficult to deal with here in game number 2. And I have to say, POM is a very difficult one in my mind.
It was really hard. Well, I'll tell you guys, because I feel like, especially watching this highlights back, I think it's warranted. I voted for Kingen.
Good. I would have. I think that's the thinking man's vote. I think if you were just looking at big numbers, you're like, oh, that's a great KDA for Scout. And it's Scout, so it's really fun voting for him, things like that. But I do think that Kingen was so incredibly pivotal in both of these games.
Look at this fight for Kanavi. He's like, all right, maybe I can set something up. They're letting me in.
Wait, maybe it's Sponge, actually.
Could be.
That's the thinking man's vote. I don't know. It's hard.
I kind of like how Kanavi played this last fight. Or is this going to be... This is the last fight, right?
Yep, should
Yes, Kanavi's trying to set this up right. The Weaver as well goes in. Look at this engage on the Scout. But Kingen's just like waiting. He's like, Zeus can't get anywhere near. Zeka goes golden. They're just so careful. They wait, they play slow, they don't overextend with Taeyun. And they just front to back this so brilliantly. I think it was the best thing that Hunter Life Esports could have mustered here. It just still ultimately didn't work.
Yeah, the fact that Scout was able to get the last second Zhonya's as well to keep himself alive. Kingen topping the damage in this game. And honestly, Nongshim, they got a lead this time, and they did not let go of it. It was elementary the way they played it out, the way they used the Baron. I know a lot of people would be like, oh, boring use of it, right? Shutting out the enemy. But there was no way for HLE to get any vision. They had to make that desperate play through the mid lane, which was not optimal for them. And Nongshim were just funneling them around to where they wanted to fight them.
When you have so much pick, when you have the Talia, the Jarvan, the Nautilus, like, if you run in this Rise, you die.
There it is.
Picks it up. Love to see it. And, I mean, the way that they said, you can't do anything with Guma because he can't see, so he can't poke. The Rise is slow range. We're just going to play through vision. It's something that I feel like we would have never said about Nongshim since they entered the LCK, right? That was not their thing. Just to play macro, to play vision, they just played team fight only, constantly scrap. This is a new evolution of the Noodle Boys.
And it's looking really cool. I think there's maybe a little bit of it is everyone jumping on the Lehens train, you know, wanting to utilize some of his more eclectic styles in order to find themselves wins, but it was also measured. The way that they did it, they worked as a unit, and this is a composition of players that haven't been together all that long just yet. So sky could be the limit here for Nongshim, and that is an absolutely great look. We have to remember back, like, they were having a rough time in the Legend Group at the end of 2025, and now with a couple of adjustments to the roster, maybe this is going to be the Nongshim that Noodle fans have been looking forward to. And we get a chat with Kingen, who was the finals MVP in North America last time Worlds was there, and we are in another year where Worlds is going to be in North America. So I was saying yesterday that the bros could be making it to Worlds. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's actually Nongshim.
The first new Aatrox player. He played the Zion and beat Aatrox while doing it.
What if Kingen like went to Worlds and got a Zahen skin, so he's got an Aatrox one? That'd be incredible. Let's throw it over to him now for the interview.
Thank you very much, guys. This is here for the POM interview translation. We are here joined by Kingen on the side of Nongshim Red Force. Congratulations! Kingen, this is your first LCK Cup win. How do you feel? You know, I had not expected us to get a clean 2-0 victory, but it feels amazing that we were able to get a clean win. Did you know that Nongshim was actually on a 14-match losing streak against Hana Life Esports? So what led you to today's victory? Yes, the driving force was in the practice process. Whatever we actually focus on as a key point, like how we would set up for a team fight, we have always been trying to practice and improve our communication, and I feel like that actually really paid off today. Yeah, just from your communication, we actually saw that your coach's main feedback being all about spell checks. So did it help during the game? Yeah, honestly, it helps immensely. And as you trade,
플래시게 누가 썼는지 볼 수 있게끔 되는데
you know, just you can see,
아무도 안 죽거나 그러면
you know, from the system chat, like you can tell who used who used flash, and sometimes it's really hard to catch. Those are really easy to miss, and so I think those are very, very helpful. Nongshim definitely does proactively use the coach voice. And in game 1, you pulled Zahin, which is a first appearance for the LCK, and as the Aatrox got fed, there must have been a lot on your plate. Yeah. Just the way Zahin works, you can actually stack a lot of passive stacks when there are a lot of melee champs that you face. So since Aphelios and Azir have long range, it actually gave me a lot of pressure during the game. You know, despite that pressure, there was an amazing highlight at the very end of game 1. Can you walk us through what happened here? At first, we had to start with the dead Nico, and it's a 4v5, but I think we were able to sandwich them really well. And just because we were able to engage in that Aphelios really well, we actually were able to catch him out and wrap up that team fight. And we got a Gwen and Bessa matchup in game 2, which was key for both comps. And, you know, there are a lot of tough moments in the very early game. Yeah. So Gwen actually went through a lot of big nerfs. And I feel like that's why we started not using her that often. But after the laning phase, during the team fighting phase, actually she's very, very strong still. And Sponge, I had faith in him that he would be able to supplement and make sure that he can help me out during the laning phase during game 2. So it actually did work out. Yeah, we saw that Sponge was definitely helping you out a lot during game 2. And so, who was actually the one who actually proactively set up for you guys? Yeah, I think it was Sponge that actually mentioned a lot like, oh, this is what we should do and how we should set up. And his sharp ganks actually helped us get back into the game for that comeback. You know, Sponge, Scout, and Taeyoon are new faces that you get to synergize with this year. So have you been getting along with them? You know, usually when we joke around, I feel like we actually click really well. We have really nice conversations. What about a player that was most unexpected? I think it has to be Scout. Just from the outside, he has a very cold image. And I thought that he had an image where he doesn't really talk a lot, but he actually jokes around. He's such a jokester and prankster. And he talks a lot more. He is actually pretty outgoing. He's outgoing and he's a yapper. So it looks like your synergy is on the right path. And your next opponent is Elder Group's ace, D plus Kia. What is your mindset? You know, lately, D plus Kia, they have such great momentum going on right now. But as long as we're able to execute what we have been doing, I feel like we are pretty confident that we can pull this off in a positive direction. So I hope that you guys keep on supporting us. And that's the end of the interview with Kingen, and back to the space. Thank you.